Yo, you probably clicked this video because you want to learn how to use your abilities better. Well, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll be talking about the fundamentals of good ability usage, specifically for initiators, but a lot of these rules apply to most characters. I'll get to all the individual rules eventually. As the initiator, you are the spearhead for getting your teammates into unknown territory. That is why I decided to cover this role first. Your utility is more impactful and important than the other roles. Your job is to make sure your teammates' life is easy by helping them get into scary places. So let's first talk about what defines quote-unquote bad ability usage when it comes to initiators. Fundamentally, there's nothing crazy about using your abilities, aside from knowing some key lineups mainly for Sova or Fade. For the most part, on most agents, you can get away with just pressing the button and winging it. However, if you do this, you will most likely get minimal value out of your abilities rather than using them to their full ability, which we definitely don't want. So what makes bad ability usage? Bad ability usage comes down to three things. 1. You are not using your abilities at all. 2. You use your abilities in a way that sabotages your own team. And 3. Your abilities become predictable. Not using your abilities at all is pretty self-explanatory. If you don't like using abilities, play CSGO instead. Using your abilities in a way that sabotages your team means that your ability gives your teammates a false sense of confidence, or you're just straight up griefing them, which is, kind of fun sometimes, but not good. So for example, if you use your Fade Dog B main on Ascent and don't clear the close right cubby, your teammate will run in thinking the area is clear, only to get one tapped by a guy standing in a place he thought was clear. Same thing A main. Make sure you send your dog toward wine so that you fully clear A main. So when you are using your recon abilities, make sure that you clear every possible corner that the enemy could be in, so the teammate that follows up on the recon does not get caught with their pants down. Being predictable with your abilities means that you shouldn't do the same thing every round. Don't throw the same KO knife in the same spot on A main every round. If the enemy is half good, they will expect it and play around it, which could sabotage your team. A great example of this is playing KO on defense on Heyman. If you throw his knife A lobby once the barrier drops every round, you'll tag the enemy the first couple times, but eventually they will play around it. This could lead to you throwing your knife, it scanning nobody, you communicating to your team saying, A is clear, and have a guy rotate off, only for the enemy to explode A 5 seconds after. So make sure you're mixing up where you are throwing your abilities so that doesn't happen. To avoid having bad utility usage, you should always have a reason for using said ability. Examples for this are A. You want to gain information on a part of the map. B. You want to gain control of a part of the map. And C. You want to make a fight advantageous for you. These are the three main reasons you should be using your abilities. Now, gaining information versus gaining control are two completely different goals that have different requirements. If you simply want to gain information on a part of the map, you can get away with just using a recon ability, like Fade Dog, Silver Dart, Sky Dog, etc., and not have to follow up on it. If it pings someone, they break it, you now know there's a player in the area. If it pings nobody, you are more comfortable moving up yourself. However, in most cases, if the ability pings somebody, there may be no teammate to follow you to fight for control. That is the difference between gaining information and gaining control. Let's demonstrate this in a simple in-game example. Let's say you and your team want to gain information on B main on Ascent. To do this, you would need to use a recon ability, Fade Dog in this example, to see if it pings anybody. In this case, it doesn't ping, so you know that there is nobody in B main at that current moment. However, if there isn't a player or ability like Killjoy Turret or Cypher Camera to keep an eye on that area, you are not maintaining control. A player could walk in after the dog expires and you wouldn't know unless you clear it again. Using your abilities to gain information is good to assess where the enemy aggresses or where the enemies are positioned. There are only 5 players on each team, and setting someone up in one part of the map makes the other parts of the map weaker. Using your abilities to gain control of a part of the map, on the other hand, requires you to use your abilities in tandem with one or more of your teammates. Using the same example as earlier, if you use your Fade Dog B main and have a teammate follow it in, you are now using your ability to maintain control of a part of the map. The benefit of this is that you have a constant flow of information from that player in B main. You don't have to re-clear that area unless that player dies or is forced back. The drawback is that the player has to stay in that area to keep control and cannot contribute to other parts of the map unless they're playing Omen or Astra or something like that with global utility. Even then, you are missing one body on your team. It is up to you and your team to decide whether to play for information or fight for control on parts of the map. If you are struggling taking a part of the map, try looking for information or taking control elsewhere on the map. Finally, you can use your abilities to make fights advantageous for you. Remember the core concept of VALORANT. Make it difficult for your opponent to shoot you, but easy for you to shoot them. You can use your abilities to distract your enemy, making it a lot harder to shoot you, but easier for you to shoot them. A great example of this is left-clicking your Fey dog to have it auto-run and swinging with it when it pings. A more simpler or common example is using KO or sky flashes. You just throw your flash, the guy can't see you, and you just shoot them. Surprisingly, the game is a lot easier when the enemy cannot even see you shooting them. These concepts apply to both attackers and defenders, as both teams should be fighting for map control or information. So, that's what makes the difference between good and bad ability usage. It truly comes down to being intentional with what you are doing, individually or team-wise. If you are thinking about how to use your abilities instead of brainlessly throwing them, you're probably using your abilities decently. If you are brainlessly throwing your abilities, well, that's why I made this video. Let me know if there's anything specifically you guys want to be covered. And as always, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped. I'll see you all next week.
Stay with me, little bitch. Yeah, you know that I'm no man to be capital like a snitch. No thoughts, no stand.